I played the original Last of Us game on last gen, and I replayed about 2/3 of the remastered on PS4 right before this game came out. I love the first one, and was really looking forward to this release. To me, the original was an instant classic with beautiful storytelling and great gameplay. The game had a few shortcomings when it came to overall mechanics, but the classic parental tale felt original and real. The story is solid, the themes are extremely apparent, and I believe this game is a good segue from the first game. The narrative in this game comes off like a classic tragedy where you play both sides of the story and are left with a broken protagonist in the end. This game, like the first one, will be talked about for a long time. The creative and narrative decisions in this game are bold. It must have been hard for the writers to tell a story this wrenching and divisive. To kill off one of the most beloved characters early in the second game cannot be taken lightly, and on top of that, ending the game without a happy ending and Ellie alone. Halfway through, you essentially start the game over as the antagonist, Abby. You begin to see parallels between Ellie's and Abby's life. For me, this was a little too on the nose. There were similarities that were a little too similar, and it seemed to try very hard to make Abby's character sympathetic. I never truly sympathized with Abby and her friends, except for maybe Mel, who didn't want to be involved.
You're a piece of shit, Abby.
I have not read very many reviews for this game, and I'm unsure if this is even a hot take, but I feel like Joel killing those doctors in the first game was justified. They didn't really solidify if Abby knew they kept the fact that Ellie would die during the procedure from Joel or not. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but they never explained why Abby wasn't with Owen. Was it implied and I missed it? Why was Owen with Mel instead of Abby? This game looks beautiful. Like the first one, pushing the limits of the PS3, this game really pushes the limits of the PS4. The foliage looks fantastic and reacts appropriately. The insides of buildings are beautifully grungy and seem truly lived in. There isn't a ton of variation past the 1 hour mark, as you are mostly in Seattle. I noticed a repeating event at the beginning of missions where the game would point out that your destination is off in the distance, and as you progress you can see that it is getting closer. This mechanic really helps the world feel bigger than it is. The basic mechanics in this game seem like an appropriate update from the first one. There are some minor additions like seamless cutscenes and the ability to go prone, but that doesn't save it from becoming repetitive. The land puzzles seemed a little too easy due to them being heavy repeats of the first one. I was usually able to grab a trash can or notice an open window before I even got to the puzzle. Adding an extension cord to 2 land puzzles isn't enough to keep it fresh. The AI seems more like actual people in this game. They brutally call out the names of their friends as you kill them. Over! Once they notice you, they will try to surround you instead of just running straight up to you.
Run! Get her from the side!
Roger that!
Also, the AI patrols will randomly look behind them, which adds a bit of suspense to every situation. The AI still lacks some situational awareness when it comes to me killing their friends and their peripherals, or my victim will loudly gargle blood right next to one of their comrades, but it doesn't bother them. The patrolling has gotten better, but their vision still seems two-dimensional, as they will stand over a short counter I am hiding behind, and they still won't see me. The story is the star of the show, much like the first game. If you are connected with the characters from the first one, this story will surely strike a chord with you. This game subtly shows you where you need to go, which makes you feel like the game was built for you. This element allows the story to flow freely and is mostly attributed to great level design. Even though I would have made different choices, I have to applaud the leaps and decisions that the writers made. Killing off Joel in the first hour of the game meant that the gloves were off and no one was safe. The story in this game is textbook theme. It was almost heavy-handed, but I think the theme was followed through to its inevitable end. Speaking of themes, with the theme in the story being revenge and hate, they had to go brutal. They didn't hold back. From crazy religious groups cutting people open to Ellie leaving her new family to go follow a loose lead to find Abby. Although they added in some minor mechanics, it got old about halfway through. It didn't help that you essentially played the same game twice. I never truly sympathized with Abby like I did Ellie. I felt the game kept trying to show that she is cool and compassionate, which just came off as the story trying way too hard to make up for what she did at the beginning of the game. Due to not sympathizing with Abby, I felt the game went on about 2 to 3 hours longer than it should have. I felt the game was wasting time trying to get me to see that Abby is like Ellie, when in reality I believed Abby was in the wrong the whole time. Personally, I feel like this game is a great addition to the first game. It tells a real story with real consequences for the characters. No plot armor here. That type of writing deserves to be in its own genre. I legitimately thought Ellie was going to die in the end. Of course, the way they executed some of the plot points could have been fleshed out or altered a bit more to cover some important issues and making Abby a bit more sympathetic. Also making some of the similarities between Abby and Ellie a lot more subtle. But overall, the game is a solid piece of entertainment and art.